Boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages, this is Jesse with Common Nerd, bringing you pop culture and all things ready through a common six lens. And I probably, like many of you out there, were very optimistic about the seasons of The Boys out there. Eric Kripke's got a pedigree of having a show called Supernatural out there that I think many of us absolutely loved and thought was incredible. I know I'm for one that was one of those ones that lasted as long as I possibly could for all of those seasons of the show. And honestly, I probably would have been perfectly okay with more. But at the end of the day, boys and girls, we've seen how so many of these greats out there, so many people responsible for so much of the content and the IPs and just the stories and the characters that we've loved over the years. Well, it's like that saying from Batman goes out there, you either live long enough, you either die the hero or live long enough to become the villain, boys and girls. I apologize for completely and totally butchering this, but at least you know you get Common Nerd raw and unedited, boys and girls. Giggity. But at the end of the day, boys and girls, this is what we've seen happen a lot of times out there, right? A lot of these people, they spend all this time in Hollywood, they end up in these bubbles, they end up in these echo chambers, and they think the spirit of the age is the actual ideology out there that the majority of the world agrees with. And that has been no more apparent than with Eric Kripke and the most recent seasons of The Boys. Not only has he gone out there publicly and admitted that the main character, the main villain of the show, Homelander, in his mind, is nothing more than a Donald J. Trump allegory. It's been pretty apparent. And well, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, as The Boys, with all of its massive success that it had for a very long time, obviously spawned a bunch of spinoffs over there at Amazon. And well, it turns out that after all of the nonsense and after all of the garbage, and yes, we'll virtue signal until everything burns down, 2 plus 2 does still equal 4, and eventually you run out of other people's money because, boys and girls, Eric Kripke has essentially admitted that the future of the Boys franchise and all of its spinoffs is dead. There's already a bunch of cancellations going on out there. There are things not returning, and he is now out there doing the press tour, begging for fans to watch, because if not, it turns out even over at Amazon MGM Prime, boys and girls, it will indeed get canceled if nobody watches. I know, crazy concept, and something that probably many of you out there thought was going to be impossible. But boys and girls, we have Eric Kripke himself admitting that the Boys franchise's future and all of its spinoffs, including all of its indoctrination and political messaging, is on a knife's edge. And the only thing that can save it is a bunch of viewers tuning in. And guess what? I think we can all safely say none of the common sense fans out there have anything to worry about that in any way, shape, or form. So we're going to check out this article from Matt McGloin over there at CosmicBook.news, getting all of the juicy details of exactly what Kripke has said in this wonderful article over here from The Wrap. But before we do, if you do enjoy our content, hit that like button, share with all your friends, and subscribe or follow if you have not already, boys and girls, because we are grinding, we are growing. We just crossed 2,300. We're sailing our way towards 24. I think we're sitting at like 2,305 on our journey to 100,000, and I could not do that without every single one of you. Also, leave us a comment in the section down below, lady, what you think about all this. Are you like me and a lot of other fans out there who really enjoyed the first couple of seasons and all the way up to maybe season 3 of The Boys? Did a little bit of the political messaging get too much for you, or was it like with me and I just came really bored and really disenfranchised with a lot of the stories and I simply didn't care or continue the show in any way, shape, or form? Have you enjoyed any of the spinoffs? What did you think of those? Let us know what you think about all that in the comment section down below, because unlike in Eric Kripke's world, all opinions are actually welcome in our comment section down below. And if you'd like to support the channel, of course, check out the description. All right, from our dear, sweet Matt McGloin over at CosmicBook.news, boys and girls. The Boys franchise losing viewers as Eric Kripke's politics turn off fans. And I think we already did a video not too long ago, or at least we talked about it on one of our live streams, about how the ratings for the latest Boys season, not been so hot, boys and girls. Amazon's The Boys franchise may finally be losing steam, and even the show's own creator seems to acknowledge it. In a new interview with The Wrap, showrunner Eric Kripke admitted that spinoffs are stalling and that future seasons depend on viewership that's no longer guaranteed. That's right, boys and girls. Even the Hollywood elites are finally starting to admit that they are not owed your viewership. That indeed they do actually have to earn it. I know, strange concept in the modern era, right? Kripke confirmed that The Boys Mexico is still in the earliest stages of development, but it is not greenlit. Yeah, probably not ever going to come to fruition out there, boys and girls. Mexico is just being developed right now. The pilot script is being written. I hope it gets made, but it's just in the development phase. Well, based on all of the ratings you've got on everything you've been doing so far and what's currently going on, yeah, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, I don't think we've got much worry of this thing ever getting out of the development phase. And I apologize here for a second, but hydrate. I had a terrible little tickle in my throat. Remember? Raw, unedited, boys and girls. Giggity. He also revealed the animated spinoff, The Boys Presents Diabolical, bleh, won't be returning and is canceled. I don't think there's going to be a season 2. It's not for a lack of us pushing. I think it ultimately, the viewer numbers weren't there to justify a second season. And there it is, boys and girls. Despite all of the Hollywood trade magazines giving you all their BS lines about how, oh, it was only ever supposed to last one season. Oh, it was only ever supposed to be that they never had any plans for more. That may all be true. But as anybody that's been paying attention to the media landscape for any length of time, or has ever saw a movie that was supposed to be a one-off but ended up doing gangbusters at the box office and ended up having to turn into a really crappy sequel because the studio demanded it, boys and girls, if anything of these things were successful, I guarantee you beyond a shadow of a doubt, it doesn't matter if the creators and the writers only had an idea for season 1, these studios would be ponying up all the money in the world to bring these folks back for more. Don't believe me? Eric Kripke's own Supernatural went on for 12, 14 seasons over at the CW when even they'd admitted they'd far beyond ran out of ideas beyond season 5. Yeah. So Eric clearly understands that quite well because he had a show drag on for a longer than it probably should have because of how successful and how it was one of the only successful things for the CW out there, boys and girls. That's a rare public admission for the Supernatural creator that audiences are tuning out. Diabolical premiered in 2022 to strong reviews. Yay, the legacy media institutions out there were like, this is awesome. You have to watch it. How has that gone well for anything out there? Give me one example. Right? Where the critics score actually had an effect on anything out there at the box office. Show me one example of where the audiences despised something, the critics loved it, and it was still a success. You won't. It doesn't ever happen. That's why the legacy media critics aren't the ones people listen to anymore. They all find independent commentators out there, and that's why they're all dying, because of this kind of nonsense. Diabolical premiered in 2022 to strong reviews, but failed to sustain interest, suggesting fans are growing tired of the franchise's increasing political tone. You think? It's almost like people don't want politics in what's supposed to be their escapism. I know. Strange concept, right, boys and girls? Kripke has long been outspoken about his political views, often using The Boys as a vehicle for them. He described Homelander as a Trump analog and said the series wears its politics on its sleeve. Yeah, how's that marketing worked out? How'd that work out in comics, huh? If you don't like my politics, don't buy my book. Okay. Did you see any follow-ups to those books? Nope. You think you're going to see any more follow-ups to The Boys? Nope. It's almost like history doesn't just repeat itself, it also rhymes. I know, strange concept, right? That approach has increasingly divided the fan base, as storylines in both The Boys and its spinoffs, Gen V, have shifted from parodying corporate superheroes to promoting overt ideological messaging. And that was one of the things that I loved about the early seasons of The Boys out there. There was one of the scenes, I don't remember if it was in season 2 or season 3, but they're walking through what is essentially like this giant, like, I don't know, like little, it's like a fair, right? It's like there's all these little booths set up and everything else. It's like, you think of like a carnival kind of situation, right? And all of this stuff is just over the top. It's like all of these stupid endorsements of like veggie this and veggie that and everything else, right? And it's just so dumb. It's just so silly. And it's just so ridiculous. And it's obviously mocking all of that kind of corporate ideology, all that kind of corporate virtue signaling BS, right? But that didn't last. Kripke could not help himself. And then especially has lost it even more, obviously, because of the things that happened in U.S. politics. So at the end of the day, color us shocked there. It's almost like what Michael Jordan said back in the 90s about how Republicans buy shoes is why you shouldn't involve your entertainment in this kind of garbage. The issue boiled over recently in Gen V Season 2 when a scene depicted a goat named Elon being violently blown apart. Did you guys check out that video? If not, you should. An act that clearly crossed the line from satire into symbolic violence. Musk himself responded on X saying that he blew up a small hot dog called Jeff Bezos. Well, at least he's taking it good in stride, but hey, that's Elon for you. The sequence drew backlash from viewers who felt the franchise had gone from edgy commentary to politically motivated attacks on real people. It's almost like they simply cannot help themselves, right? They just have to do it. They can't stop themselves. Viewership now decides the future. Kripke told The Wrap that Gen V's renewal depends entirely on ratings. We have a plan for Gen V Season 3, and we're psyched about it, but we need enough viewers to watch Season 2 to justify Season 3. See what I said about all the begging? Now it's time they're paying attention to the numbers. Really? Wow. He's admitting what we've been saying the entire time. So don't watch even a year from now. Turn on Prime and watch it now. Please, please, I beg of you. Please watch it now. Because if not, I'm going to be out of a job for all of my political nonsense and garbage, and we're all screwed. Weird. Strange concept, huh? Political messaging doesn't sell very well overall. Especially when you're spending billions of dollars like Bezos is over there, huh? I know, strange concept. And it's just pathetic. This is exactly what it comes down to. He's essentially out there begging, doing this press tour, begging for audiences to watch. And guess what? We've seen in the past how that never, ever works out. It just sounds pathetic and weak. You know what I mean? And this is what it comes down to. He's not wrong, though. That's actually exactly what it comes down to. If people tune in and watch, more things will be made. Now, people go, well, why is Rings of Power still on? Because of contract requirements. They have to pay the Tolkien estate a bunch of money if they cancel that thing early. So yeah, with The Boys though, all them contract obligations are long over, boys and girls. The same uncertainty applies to Vault Rising, another spinoff in development. They've been nothing but supportive, but they're giving us opportunities, but it's a business, and we also have to deliver. So hopefully the audiences show up. Nope. Ain't got to worry about that. Amazon has already confirmed that The Boys Season 5 will be the final season, marking the end of the main series that launched the franchise. Kripke insists that there are still stories left to tell, but his latest comments suggest the days of automatic renewals are over. With fans growing weary of overt politics and viewership clearly slipping, The Boys may be facing the same fate as its fictional superheroes, undone by its own creator. And that's exactly what it ends up coming down to. Right? They did this to themselves. You know, if you guys have been watching these videos for any length of time, and especially if you make it all the way to the end, we say it all the time, right? They've done this to themselves. It's exactly what they deserved. They're the ones that got in bed with the cult. They're the ones that danced with the devil in the pale moonlight. They made those decisions, not us. Eric Kripke decided to interject his politics into what I honestly enjoyed as an awesome show. I absolutely loved it. My wife and I could not wait to watch more. But he could not help himself. And it's always the way it goes. It's not even that I saw overt politically messaging in Season 3. It wasn't even that. It's just that the stories always suffer when they decide to prioritize their politics. It happens everywhere. It happens in game development. That's a great example of it, right? That whole world, they do all this virtue signaling, do all this forced identity checkbox stuff, and then what do we get? Broken and buggy games. What do we get from movies and television shows? Crappy storytelling with visual effects that look great, right? On paper, it looks awesome. And then you actually get into the nitty gritty of it. And you're just like, this is garbage. This is crap. And this is why you fail. And so now you've got Eric Kripke out there doing the press tour, begging for fans to come and watch. Well, why was he begging fans to come and watch when he decided to prioritize his politics over just good storytelling? Where was those prioritizes of desperate need for viewership when he decided to essentially tell over half the country that he doesn't want their viewership and he doesn't want them watching his show? Because that's what it comes down to. When you decide to go out there and stick yourself in the middle of it, well, the country's divided and you're only going to be catering to one side. And that is not a very successful recipe in order to make something that's financially profitable, especially when you're spending hundreds of millions of dollars on it. Don't believe me? Have you seen the state of the MCU lately? This is just another example of that. Because Eric Kripke decided to get possessed by the spirit of the age, drink all of the woke Kool-Aid completely and totally down, and believe the echo chamber and all the voices of it that he currently finds himself in. Because if this guy was actually among common sense, normal fans out there, he would understand that this is not what they want. They don't agree with him. And guess what? We're not the monsters that he has been indoctrinated to believe. But of course, that's why they don't actually ever engage when honest conversation with us, because every time they do, they find out we're not the boogeymen hiding inside of their closets. But it doesn't matter, because Eric Kripke, you have danced with the devil in the pale moonlight. You have wasted hundreds of millions of dollars over there at Amazon MGM Prime. You yourself has admitted your numbers can't justify it anymore. And guess what? The future of the Boys franchise and all of its spinoffs over at Amazon MGM is over. And Eric Kripke, you did it to yourself, and it's exactly what you deserve. After all, you dance with the devil in the pale moonlight, and you're bound to get burned. A big shout out to all of our subscribers and members out there. Thanks for watching, and make sure you guys like and subscribe if you have not already.